Okay, we continue learning Hilchos Pesach with Hagadah. Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, written by Rav Daniel Asher Kleiman. We pick it up from Sif Ches in the third parak, page Tazayin. We're in the middle of discussing the Birchas Ilanos. So we ended yesterday with the halacha that you're allowed to make a bracha even on one tree. And Rav Daniel Asher explains that even though the Lashon HaGemara and Shulchan Aruch is Haraya Ilanos, which is in the plural, Mashma Shtayim, still you don't need two trees. Even one tree is enough. So in the Ha'ara test, first of all, Stam, this whole sigi, you'll keep on seeing the Kafa Chayim is very, very worried about this bracha. And he's mamish, he needs two trees and multiple people, and it has to be a kosher tree, al zachin. But Lamaisa, we'll see that we're going to be basically makel kamat in every single case. Says, I'm sorry? Kosher tree? We'll get there in a moment. Kafa Chayim, etc. Arla, excuse me. So says Ara test, that why do you need two trees? He says, Shtein Gemara, that Harai Ilanois. Comes along with Shmuel, and Rav Shmuel explains, I'm in Hara test right now on the third line. Even on one tree. The Lashon Gemara says the Chayodim is ready mayor that the Gemara Ilanois is lav davka. And he brings beautiful rayos. He says, go look at all the brachas that Chazal make. They're all in the plural. Halaharim, alagvayis, alayamim, alanarais. Of course, you don't need to see two of any of these. Besurais, taivais. You see the Gadol Adar, you say, Chachmi Yisrael, Malchi Yisrael, Briyais, taivais, lanos, taivais. Obviously, doesn't mean, says they based with this Chayadam, doesn't mean you see both of them. It means there are trees in the world, and you see one blossoming, you're able to make the bracha. At the end over here, he quotes Rav Forsheimer that says to be Mayan the Sefer Dibar Tamam. I don't have one on me. Tzimn and Zayin. It'd be interesting to note what Rav David Feinstein says. Apparently, he weighs in on this topic. But okay, but the Rivers of Ephraim does quote that Rav Moshe said he can make a bracha on one tree. So that's the two tree shtickle. We continue over here. Do you need a minyan? Says the Kovetz Halachos. You do not need a minyan. In Harayot, he says even though some achreinim write it's toiv to have a minyan. Look in the Sefer Chesed Alafim. Still, if you're lucky, you do not need to be matriach for this. What I think is interesting, what you see from here is there are people that do this. I once was in a minyan, and after mincha, I said, okay, we're all going to go make the brachas ilanis. There was a tree about a 1-minute walk from the shul, and there were people saying, shtuyot, what are you doing with Nayam and Hagim? You don't need a minyan. So Lamaisa, the answer is ein sarich ledaktik. However, we see the Chesed Alaf, the Kafa Chayim, they're busy saying that it's a nice thing to do, so why not? Well, yeah, then people actually make the bracha. Sif Yud. Now, what we mentioned before, Mistaver says the Kovetz Halachos, Shesh levarich brachas ilanos alino shel arla. You let him make the bracha even on the ilanos shel arla. Afal gav, what's the shayla? The whole bracha, which we saw yesterday, is that you're getting benefits from the peiros. Peiros toivos lehanois bahem. But you can't get enough from arla. Afagash island of berezanos behem. Kemoiki nefesh levarich brachas ilanos gamal ilan shenevad v'nishmar b'shvias, which you as well cannot get benefit from. But Lamais, you let him make the bracha on it. So in Ara, Yud Aleph, fascinating, there's Rav Akiva Eiger. Rav Akiva Eiger in Reish Chavav says that if you have trees within the first 3 years, he's mistapik if you're able to make a bracha on it, because it's aser. He says, and says Rav Akiva Eiger, it's not a suffix brachas, and rather you let him make a bracha. The Kav Chayim once again comes along and says, no, you can't make a bracha. However, the David Misharim, here we go, who's David Misharim? Very good. It says you can make a bracha, and he says he brings a raya. Fine. Ilin shel arla. Okay, let's skip his raya. Gets into the singing of a kama. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. No, it has to be a fruit tree. What does that mean?
Do you know name a poisonous tree?
What does that mean? No clue. I don't know. Veskim imai hagenim shem zaman arbach lamaisa is maskim that you can make a bracha. Comes like Rav Shmuel, and Rav Shmuel comes along and he comments on the suffix of Rav Akiva Eiger. Incredible. He says mistaver that the suffix of Rav Akiva Eiger is not totally in hana. Says Rav Shmuel, and it sounds like he's arguing Rav Akiva Eiger, which is incredible. But he quotes a shita in a moment. He says because the bracha is on the tree, it's not on the fruit. Tiknu ikar bracha davka on the elon that gives off such a flower. V'kivan shabracha iyala elon zeh nita lahanisban. You can get benefit from the tree. 1 second. So he says mistaver zakor of Shmuel. You can make a bracha on it. Says Rav Dina Lasher, I found this yisoid mafurish shita. The shita when he explains this bracha, he says the bracha that comes mizman lizman in mechudash. Sha'adam mevarich. What's the bracha? Al eitzim yeveshim shehefrichon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The bracha is that Hashem took the dead tree. We look outside now and they're starting to blossom. You take dead trees and HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings life to them. That's the bracha. So Zakar of Shmuel, even on Arla, Lamaisa, there is benefit that you're getting. You get that hana. Lamaisa, even if Kiveger Paskin, you could make the bracha on different Misharm as well. Therefore, Avada, you could make the bracha. However, when it comes to, similarly, when it comes to a tree of Shemitah, Rishon Zalman as well writes, you can make a bracha on it. Now, in Sif Yud Beis, when it comes to Morkav, when it comes to grafted tree, on that, he writes Efsher. Efsher Levarich. In Hara Yud Gimel, obviously we begin with the Kaf HaChaim once again, that says you can't make a bracha on an Elon Morkav. L'chayri being machavin to the Rav Payalim, that says as well, why? Why can't you make a bracha on a morkav? Is because it's neged ratzain habayre. God created a tree like this and a tree like this. And me, genius man, decided I have an idea. I'm going to take Reuven and Shimon. I'm going to take 2 trees and I'm going to graft them together. Says the Rav Payalim, you're going against Hashem's ratzain. Can't make a bracha on it. So to this Eretz B'tshuva says the same. Rav Forsheimer is mitzayin a Ramosha. The Ramosha is mistapek. If you can make a shechiyanu on a similar type of fruit, why? Perhaps it's not appropriate to be misameach on something where Moshe's lashon is sheba al yedei avera. Yeah. And then says Tzarech whether it's the same thing. Us is not eating the fruit. There it's a shechiyanu on the fruit. Here it's on the tree. Lemaisa Allah lemaisa. Rav Dina Lasher brings down the Ber Halacha that brings down a yavitz that says davar pashit. You can make a bracha. And says Kovetz Halachos Shmuel Kamenetsky Devada yesh lebrarich seif yesh rem hana leolam v'roi levarich kam aleim. And l'chayr, it's all al derech what we're learning now. It's the bracha on the tree. It's the bracha on the hischadshos. It's the bracha on the hana. It's not a bracha on the peri, and therefore you can make a bracha on all these cases. We continue with Sif Yud Gimel. What about on Shabbos? Says Sif Yud Gimel Efsher lechatchila levarich bracha zu b'Shabbos Yontif. Efsher lechatchila. What's the Efsher lechatchila? So it's so now it's interesting. I have heard. What's the problem with Shabbos? Anyone know? Well, okay, good. So there are those that say over what? Well, what? Right. So everyone quotes the Kaf HaChaim that says it's boirer. Why? You're being boirer than itzaitzis. That when you make the bracha, you're getting rid of the klipas of tumma and the klipas of taira. Everyone quotes it's over. So I see in the bottom over here, Na'arid Yudali quotes the Kaf HaChaim. I was like, oh, yeah, you're in Kaf HaChaim. But that's not what he says. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe the Kaf HaChaim gives another reason. But apparently the Kaf HaChaim gives 3 reasons based on Nikla. So before we go to the 4th reason, perhaps based on Nister, that it's Boirer and it's Klipos and Zachin, Lamaisa, Kaf HaChaim says, what? Boirer is that when you make a bracha, you're nutaitzing the kedusha from the tree, which is ridding the klipos of tumah. So it's boirer ra from I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's continue. I won't pretend. You have to ask. So in the R over here, he says like you're saying, Shemi yitaltal, you might move the tree, or maybe you're going to take the flower to smell it, or maybe you're going to pick it. Comes along a Kovetz Halachos of Shmuel, and he's tama. He does not understand the Kaf HaChaim. Why? Number 1, it's a brachas haraya. The bracha is when you see the tree. What are you touching the tree? So when I saw that, I responded, "Come on, we all know what happens. You go to the tree, you start touching it. Wait, v'ra'isi shekvar tamakein the Be'er Moshe. The Devatina Rav came along and he also asked the kasha, and he brings a raya. Now from the raya, it's l'chayra pashit. He brings a raya not like the Avchayim. There's halachas shim lamravav, complicated halachas of picking flowers on Shabbos. That a hadas mechubar, you're allowed to smell on Shabbos. You're allowed to smell hadassim on Shabbos connected to the ground. Why? What happened? Shemi Yitzloish. What happened to all these things? Zokta halacha, and says the Bear Moshe, Rakdover haroi la'achila. Then we're worried you're going to pick it and eat it. But if it's haroi la'achila, we're not worried. And you're going to ask about muksa. We're not going to comment, but even in the world of muksa, the fact that you move it and it moves back while it's attached, it's not so pashit that it's a problem of muksa, and therefore lamais Rosh Mizalmin as well. What are you showing me? Who's this? That what? He says, what? He says Bayer also? Yeah. Oh, I know. I didn't say he didn't say it.
It's the same place.
No, I didn't say he didn't say it. I said everyone quotes the Kaf Chaim. I know, I didn't think it was wrong. Saying everyone says the Kaf Chaim, it's Bayer, but the first three reasons he says is straight halacha. So you're right. So you know what the answer is. So the Beer Moshe just argued la halacha. So now you're going to say, oh, what about Bayer out in the Tzaitzis Shal Kedusha? Again, Hagadol doesn't even give it, doesn't even put some ink on the paper about that shayla. And l'chayr, the answer is because we Vaito, what the answer is. Whom? Kavachayim.
He's not saying this reason by itself.
Say there, but Marashach. No, so they say no, because the eats in the apple, it's a fuch. That's. It's gonna sound funny, but that's good from bad. That's good from bad. But on the tree, the first blossoms, there are still the nitzaitzis of toma there, and you're getting rid of the bad. That's the chalik. Do I understand what I just said? I just want to say. Weiter. Yeah, no. So but the Kav Chaim addresses that. He says no, it's bad from good, not good from bad, because of the Weiter. Okay. Sif your dalit. So Maisa, you can make a bracha. And by the way, these are important because I know many people, they give over this year and they say it's a bracha once a year. I don't understand. Do it right. Do it right. Do it with a minion. Do it on a kosher tree. Do it on 2 trees. Don't do it on Shabbos. You're about to see about doing it at night. You're about to see about doing it inside. And in a chanami, tzaddikim, of course, that's what they do. Problem is, then what ends up happening? 85% of the crowd, you're there on Shabbos. No, mice is a milo to do it after Shabbos. Shkaya Kol Tov. I'll see you next part. I'll see you next Purim. Kilo says the halachas. If you, I'm not belittling it. Just we have to know what the halachas. I think we say it all the time. We have to know what halacha is to know what to be. Sif Yadal Gam Balayla. Afshel Lechatchil Levar Brachasu. You're allowed even to make this bracha at night. Says a guy in the Gadol of Shmuel. He says whenever you see the tree, you're allowed to make the bracha. And we don't say that at nighttime you don't see it well. Chayr in our world, this is pashit, especially because we have lights and whatnot. So you definitely could see the blossom properly. Okay. Siftes Vav, this is a nice one. Hadavar pashit. I think this is something many of us would be mistopic about. You know, I see it through the window. Can I make a bracha? So we would just be mistopic balabatish. So why is Rav Shmuel say? He says davar pashit, even if you see it through the window, it's mutter. He quotes in Aretz Zayin, because shtein in Gemara hayoytze. You go out and you see the tree. So maybe if you go out and you see the tree, you have to actually go out. So he says the Raikeach doesn't quote that lashon. Rabbi Yerucham doesn't quote that lashon. The Avodraham doesn't quote that lashon. And of course, the Rosh Beruban, the Chai Adam just says when you see the tree, doesn't say anything about going out. So therefore, lalach lamaisa, can even make the bracha indoors. So lehalacha, you make the tree not only on Nisan, you can make it even out of Nisan. There's a lechatchila for Nisan. Number 2, even men and women make the bracha. Number 3, you can make it on one tree. You can make it by yourself. You can make it on Arla. You can make it on Shemitah. You can make it on Morkov. You can make it on Shabbos. You can make it at night. You can make it through your window. So when you're sitting on a Leil Shabbos, Friday night, by yourself, and you see one tree, and you see the blossom, take out a sitter and make the bracha. Make the bracha. Avada, tzaddikim, anyways, listen, the tzaddikim aren't listening to these shiurim, so you don't have to worry about it. The tzaddikim avada, they go out with the entourage, with the ganze minyan, and no klipas and das, and they also understand the klipas. We'll finish by finishing this chapter. Sifteh Zayin says, Shabbos Hagadol, Kosav Ramav, Aminig Loimer, Mincha Shabbos Hagadol, Hagadol Mitchulav, Avodim Ayinu, Ad Chaber Al Kol V'Naseinu. The minog is, says the Ramah, to say the Hagadol and Shabbos Hagadol. V'hu explains the Kovetz Halachos that we'll see in a moment. There's a reason why he's explaining this reason. Why? Kadei she'advar misudarim b'pev, and you should be rogel for them. And therefore, l'chein nireh t'royu lomer yachad im mishpachtei. So first of all, number 1, there's a very famous Vilna Gaon. Now the Vilna Gaon comes along and he argues on the Ramah, and he says in the Mechilta says Yachal mibayayim tam lemer bavar zeh b'shashi ismat tamar menachem lefanecha. Says the Gaon, we do not say that God on Shabbos Hagadol. We don't do it. It's when Matzomar and Matzomar and Shabbos. That is the Vilna Gaon. Clearly, the Ramah argues, as well as the Mishnah Berurah, who says that this is the minhag. And comes along Rav Shmuel and he explains that we're not going connected the Goin, is that we're holding that the reason to say the Hagadah is not als Hagadah, not als connected the Mechilta, Matamar Munachim Lufanecha. We're saying the Hagadah so it can be rugged with piv. It's a practice run. It's a practice run. And Rav Shmuel seems to, the way he's saying it over here is that he's not really arguing on the Goin. He said, what? Oh, we'll get to it in a moment. And he says, if you look in the Rav Yah, it's mefurish like Rav Shmuel. He says, "Nagu atinoikos lahaktim likters agav b'yom Shabbos Hagadol." Or means that because of say the Rav Amram going near an advarim to lahazdir. The whole purpose is to know what you're saying. The Rav Yah says children, or the Ramah says everyone. Rabbi Shlita Amar Li says Rav Shmuel min hagoy. His minhag la'imrayim ishtay v'gam im habonim shabavayis. L'chayra tam is like the Rav Yah. The whole purpose is what? That everyone should be fluent to what you're saying. So everyone should say, and I think we could add what happens in half the Siddharim in the world. You have one person who knows what he's doing, and he flies ahead. You have other people who are breaking their teeth, and they're 25 pages behind. And then you have the kid sitting there shtelling Torah about the Brisker Rav's kasha. So l'chayra, what's the answer? The kid should stop shtelling Brisker Rav's Torah at the Seder. We'll save that for tomorrow. And if on Shabbos beforehand, everyone practice reading the words, we'd be able to get all together. And we conclude with, he quotes in the last paragraph where the Mishnah Berurah says, Tam acher l'minhag zeh. He says, Kivan hischal like Geula b'Shabbos Hagadol. Another reason, the Geula begins on Shabbos Hagadol. So therefore, we have a minhag to say it. And this ve'eruni shetams in niskar ba'agah fizeh makes sense that the goin is l'shitasai, and that's why you had a kasha. The whole reason you're reading the whole reason you're reading don't read the Megillah and Shabbos Hagadol, that's weird. The whole reason you're reading the Hagadah is because it's the beginning of the Geula. Oh, then comes on the Goin, and the Goin says, what do you mean? The Mechilta says, only Yishma Tamar Munachim Lefanecha. But if we're reading the Megillah for the added reason to be Mesudar B'Piv, to be able to say it properly, then we do say the Shabbos beforehand, and it's definitely a beautiful thing, as well as the Banav Ubenei Beisai.